podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is the Dragon's Lair, in association with the Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of sports fans in Newport. I'm Jamie, and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. Happy New Year, Gavin.
And you, Jamie, and you. How was your Christmas been? Let's ignore the rugby for a moment and just...
Yeah, if you ignore what happened in the rugby, put that to the side, it was absolutely fine. It was absolutely fine. I see you've been busy though, haven't you, over the festive period? You did another World Cup tournament. This is something you like to do on your Facebook page. This time it was a World Cup of chocolate bars.
It was.
And I do enjoy these World Cup things, by the way. The final was between Dairy Milk and Whisper. Do you want to tell us who won it?
It was Dairy Milk, wasn't it? I can't remember myself.
It was Dairy Milk. Yeah, Dairy Milk did beat Whisper, which I think is the right result.
God, I was very disappointed. Crunchy went out in the first round, and at that point I was enraged.
Well, my favourite chocolate bar very much underperformed in this tournament. So I love Galaxy. That's my favourite chocolate bar. Didn't even make the quarterfinals. Not happy at all.
It was in the tough side of the draw, I think.
Yes. And Gav, just so you know, nobody likes picnic bars. Nobody likes them. It's you and a couple of other people in the world. Nobody eats picnic bars, mate.
Josh Gardner off Blood and Mud, big fan of picnic bars.
God. I didn't even know there was still a thing. I didn't know they were still going.
Yes.
Oh,
but it has brought me back to Star Bars. I hadn't eaten a Star Bar in ages, and I found one recently, and they are brilliant.
God, I haven't had one of them for years, a Star Bar. Well, fair play. Now, look, one of my other favourite chocolate bars, and this is controversial because I feel like I'm in a very small minority of people who like this chocolate bar. I do love a Fry's Turkish Delight.
Yeah, they're okay. My mother's a big fan of Fry's Turkish Delight, but I like a raspberry ruffle.
Now, did Turkish Delight make the World Cup?
No,
did they qualify? They
no.
didn't qualify. Okay, fair enough. No. They're the San Marino of chocolate bars. They haven't qualified.
I picked the 28 most popular selling in the UK, and then I added a couple that I liked.
Okay. Was Picnic in the top?
No, it wasn't.
No, I thought not, no.
I added Picnic, Caramac, Whisper. Whisper wasn't in the top 28, and I count on Walnut Whip.
No, I do like a Walnut Whip. Now, when it comes to Whisper, I like a Whisper Gold. That's the one for me. That is very, very nice. Whisper on its own is fine, but it's got to be Whisper Gold, haven't it?
Yeah. I know I really like Whispers, but it's bizarre. Whispers did really well, get the final aero, didn't get past the first round.
Shocking.
Essentially the same thing.
Yeah. No, of course it is, yeah. This is not a chocolate pod. This is the Dragons rugby pod, so we better go into it. Let's start with some news then. A little bit of news to get through. So, Philo Tiatia will be head coach until the end of the season, and he's in pole position to get the job permanently. So, our friend of the pod and Dragon CEO, Rhys Blumberg, had this to say. He said, Philo will be in position as head coach until the end of the season, and we will be making a decision on his future after this block of games. We host Munster on January the 25th, and then there will be a board meeting the following week whereby a decision will be made. It will either be that Philo is in position as head coach for the next 2 years, or that he is returning to being defence coach with X as head coach after we've made an offer and had it agreed. The intention, he says, is to try and keep Philo in post and make sure it works out for him. So basically what Blumberg is saying there, Gav, is the job is Philo Tiatia's if he wants it. And then if he doesn't want it, well, they're going to have to go out and find someone else. Yeah. So how do you feel about that? Because you've asked for a plan, haven't you, around the head coach position. How does that sound to you?
It's a plan. It's a plan probably 2 months too late. But, it's a plan. And I don't know what I think about Philo as a coach yet. I think you could see improvement in terms of the defence when he was doing that.
Yeah.
But it's not just about him, is it? It's about the coaching team as a whole. And it's still lightweight, isn't it? You've got Philo and you've got Matt O'Brien, it's...
Sam Hobbs, forwards
Oh, yeah, and
coach.
Sam Hobbs as well, yeah. But it's still a bit lightweight in terms of a coaching team, isn't it?
I think Tom Hancock, the Pontypool coach, I think he's helping out as well. I've seen him in the coaches dugout. And Dan Lydiate is there as well. He is part of the coaching team. He's the contact area coach as well. So, yeah, a lot of fans are pretty lukewarm on the idea of Philo being head coach. And something that we've talked about on this pod, he has given off reluctant head coach vibes, hasn't he, Philo? We
Yes.
still don't really know if he actually wants this job or not, do we? We just don't know where he stands on it.
Well, his family is still in New Zealand. It doesn't really suggest commitment, does it?
Unless he does a Gatland that sort of goes back home in the off season, comes back. That's pretty much what Gatland does, isn't it? So
But I think
yeah,
Gatland's family are older, aren't they? Gatland's kids are grown up. I think Philo's kids, he's got younger kids, hasn't
I'm not sure how old his
he?
kids
Yeah.
are, but yeah, it's at least we're going to get a decision by February whether Philo stays. To me, it just reads like it's yours if you want it, mate. That's how it's coming across to me. And then if Philo doesn't want it, then the Dragons will be like, oh, okay, we gotta go and find someone now. You know,
I
that's
hope
how it
he's,
comes across to me.
but I hope he's he's fairly honest about it and says, no, I don't want to. I'll be defense coach. But then
Mm,
who do you get?
indeed, who do you get? So anyway, that's the latest on the head coach position. So by February, we'll know if Philo is going to be permanent head coach or not. And then in other news, Rhys Blumberg, him again, did a long interview with the South Wales Argus. These were the main takeaways. You've read this article as
I
well,
did,
Gab, haven't
yeah.
you? So the first headline for me out of this, Dragons are on course to make a profit. He said, we are good and budgeting for black zero. In this financial year, as things currently stand, we are budgeting to make money, not a loss. That is not pie in the sky, he says. We are in line to do that. That would be quite remarkable, wouldn't it? If the Dragons made a profit, all
It
things
would.
considered.
Well, yeah.
That really would be. He also said that the Dragons intend to increase their squad size and they're going to target higher quality overseas players. So he says, when we get this agreement done, he's talking about this agreement with the WRU, which is
Yeah.
still ongoing. It's been ongoing for months, hasn't it? It's really dragged out. He says the budget will go up fairly significantly. It will allow us to recruit more players. So he says, going from a squad of, say, 38 to 46. And he allows us to buy some overseas players who are of a level that can really improve performance. He says, we will be able to have more players and potentially foreign players of real note. Yeah, good luck trying to bring those foreign quality
Well,
players over to us because we haven't managed to do it so far, have we?
but that almost suggests that the ones we've got at the minute aren't that great. Because
Well, they're
the
not, are
foreign
they?
players, well, no, there
They're
is
not.
that. But
Yeah. No, let's be honest about that. They've been underwhelming, unfortunately. He also talked about the redevelopment, the cabbage patch. This is something that we hear every single year from the Dragons about the redevelopment. It hasn't materialised yet. And they've talked about the derelict former clubhouse, which is really sad seeing that now. That's in a real state of disrepair. It's become an eyesore now. It's quite sad. He says things are still ongoing with Newport Council, and there are a lot of people involved in it from their side. Exactly what we are going to do is still being refined, but we are getting closer. So it was a long interview. It is worth subscribing to the Argus because Chris Kerwin does do brilliant work for Dragons and County. It was a good interview. Plenty being said there. What stands out for you then out of all that? What you heard from Blumberg?
well, I think the profit thing is interesting, and I think that the club is well run.
Yeah.
As I said to you though, I think they're perhaps overestimating how much the fans actually care about how well the club is run as a business when it doesn't appear to be as well run as a sports team.
There's a real disconnect, isn't there, between the stuff off the field and what's happening on the field. And they can't link the two together, can they, the Dragons? For
No.
all the good stuff that's happening off the field. And there is good stuff there. The community team, for example, are brilliant. Really, really good community team. They've won an award from the URC for their community work. We have got good people at the helm, and they have been, investing in the pathway and the academy and the backroom staff. There are some good work going on behind the scenes, but it's just not showing on the field. And that's what we
Yeah.
want to see. And that's what fans are crying out for now. We want to see some results and winning games.
You're a season ticket holder. You don't go to the season. You don't go to Rodney Parade every week or every other week because it's a well-run business.
That's not going to pull people in, is it?
No, no, it really isn't. Yeah, and a fair play to in the current economic climate, fair play to them for doing that. But yeah, don't think fans are going to go, well, that's all right then.
Yeah, just because you own Ronnie Parade and we got an asset, which is brilliant, by the way. We are the only team to actually outright own our own stadium. We have that advantage over the other regions, but that doesn't pull people in because they want to see winning rugby. That's just how it is. That's how it is. In other news then, so there's going to be a supporters Q&A at Rodney Parade on Thursday, the February the 6th. A lot of supporters have been calling for this. They're not happy. I'm going to talk about that later on. A lot of disgruntled supporters in the fan base, and they want answers. So Rhys Blumberg, you'll be there, of course, and Chairman David Wright, who hasn't actually spoken to fans since he's been made chairman. So this will be the first time since he's been chairman. How long's that now? A couple of years ago? A year or two ago?
Well, it was when we started the pod, wasn't it? So that's 18 months, essentially.
Yeah, this will be the first time he'll actually speak to supporters. Now, I know he's a very busy man, but sorry, that should have been, he should have spoken to supporters a lot sooner than that. Sorry, he should have. Okay, so that's the news done. Let's take a look back now on the festive derbies, the disappointing festive derbies. So starting on Boxing Day then, a packed out Ronnie Parade saw Dragons host their neighbours Cardiff. But unfortunately, Gav, it was the same old story as Dragons blew yet another opportunity to end this outrageous, stupid, crazy hoodoo against Cardiff. Dragons were 15-5 up at half-time, and they had Cardiff on the ropes. They did at half-time, but of course they ended up losing 22-24. So that means it's now a decade of defeats to the Blue and Blacks, and yet another game where Dragons lost it rather than Cardiff winning. Now, Gav, there's no getting away from this, right? I know people at the club will deny it, the coach will deny it, the players will. But it's become obvious now, isn't it? The Dragons have a serious mental block against Cardiff, don't they? They really do.
Yeah, and I think it's all downplayed, or it's not, players don't think about it. Yeah, of course they do.
It must do. It must play on their minds. It must do, because it's being brought up now every single time they play by the media, by the supporters. Players are on social media, they see it. You can't tell me this is not having a psychological effect on them. It must do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just, I think sometimes the club does treat the fans a bit almost like we don't understand. Oh, it's no thing for the players. Of course it is. I refuse to believe it's not a thing for the players.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, it should be. We're beating our closest rivals, so we haven't beat them for 10 years.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's like I say to people, if you don't beat Leinster for 10 years, that's understandable because of the vast difference in budget resources.
We're one of the best teams in the world,
Yes. So it's understandable to lose 20 games in a row to Leinster. To lose 20 games in a row to Cardiff is unacceptable. It's quite frankly embarrassing, and it's shameful for everyone involved at the Dragons that we're now in this state of losing every time we play Cardiff. And it's just it's shocking, isn't it? Did you think though, even when we were 15-5 at halftime, that we'd win? Did you actually think this could be it? This could be the game. You did think we'd win, didn't you?
And then later in the second half, when we lost the lead, but then we got the lead back, so we just need to shut it out now. It's fine.
Yeah. So Matt O'Brien was in charge of this game because Philo had to go back to New Zealand. This was an agreement he had with the Dragons even before he was promoted to head coach. He was going to go back over the festive period. He said, we probably look back on that game and there were some decisions we made around discipline which cost us. I think that is spot on. That second half in particular, there was a period, I think the last 50 minutes of the game, we were giving away a lot of penalties and you could feel Cardiff edging ever closer into the game. And every time they entered out 22, it just looked like then they had the ascendancy and they were going to score tries, didn't it?
Yeah, and we let them get into our 22 consistently.
We gave him easy ins, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ref was good, I thought. The ref, particularly around the breakdown, the ref was good, was policing it well. You get back, take a step back. and our players were still doing dull things, for want of a better phrase. It's
Yeah. Positives from this game. Ryan Woodman was outstanding at lock.
mhm.
Because we got a lot of locks injured at the moment. So it's meant that Joe Davis and Ryan Woodman has had to step up to lock. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he did a fantastic job disrupting the Cardiff line out. I thought Angus O'Brien was really good on his 100th
Yeah.
appearance. Okay, he missed a couple of kicks, but I thought his game management, a couple of nice 50-22s. I thought he controlled the game really well. I thought Rodri Williams was good as well. He seems to be getting a lot of criticism again from supporters, Rodri. I don't know why, because I think he's good and consistent. I know some people have issue with his
I
kick,
thought
but
Rodri was poor against Scarlets,
yes,
but I think he played well against Cardiff.
yeah, in this game,
Yeah.
I thought he was really, really good. But yeah, it's just yet another game we've conspired to lose against Cardiff, isn't it? That's the overriding feeling. I don't know. What are your final thoughts on that game?
Well, coming away from it, I watched it. And how were they third?
Yeah.
How is that team third? Because it's not very good.
Well,
There's some good players in there.
did you see the Ospreys game?
I did. It was one of the worst games of rugby I think I've seen in a long while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cardiff are not as good as their league position suggests, and I've said that
No.
on social media. If you think about it, they couldn't score against 13-man Scarlets early in the season. They couldn't beat a 14-man Ospreys team. They got absolutely battered at home by Glasgow. They have improved, in fairness,
Mm.
and they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
recruited well. They are the top Welsh region,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're not as good as their league position suggests. And
No.
we could have and should have beaten them. It was another.
Yes.
We've lost that rather than them winning it, and that's the fact of the matter.
Cardiff take a win and a draw from those derbies when really they should have come away with two losses.
Agree. Very lucky. Very lucky. But having said that, I'd rather be in their position than the Dragons, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
I would much rather be in Cardiff's position. Yeah, so that was Cardiff. Oh, the other thing I would add as well, really nice to see Ronnie Parade packed out for a
Yeah.
rugby game.
The atmosphere
It
was
was nice.
great. Or even like watching it on TV, the atmosphere was
Yeah,
great.
it was terrific. And there was a lot more Cardiff fans there than the last time. Fair play, they did actually show up this time. Good Cardiff support, great crowd, really good atmosphere. Don't care what anyone says. Ronnie Parade, when it's full, is the best atmosphere in Wales. Don't bother telling me about Cardiff Arms Park or Park of Scarlets. It doesn't compare to Ronnie Parade. It just doesn't. It was brilliant atmosphere. And both sets of fans, in fairness, played their part in that. So,
No, it
yeah,
was great atmosphere, and I think we could. It was game management, it was decision making, it was all the things that we keep talking about.
yeah. And yet we still could have won it.
Yeah, right till the death.
Yeah. Disappointing. Really disappointing. But it's getting, to that point where it's not surprising anymore, is it? You know, and that's
Yeah,
the issue. Yeah. So anyway, that was Cardiff. That was Boxing Day. So then we travelled to Llanelli on New Year's Day. And it's worth pointing out before we get into this game, and I'm not using this as an excuse, this is a fact. Scarlets had a 10-day rest period going into this game because their derby against Ospreys got moved because it was a clash with Swansea City. So that meant they had 10 days rest recovery period. The Dragons had just a 6-day turnaround. Like I said, I'm not using it as an excuse, but that was what they were coming up against. So they had to make changes. Philo Tiatia was back for this one. However, that did not excuse what was a very disappointing performance as Dragons lost 32-15, a scoreline that flatters us, quite frankly, I thought.
yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, kind of that doesn't sound too bad on paper, but in reality, it was considerably worse than that.
Absolutely. So the game was lost in the first 40 minutes as Dragons were 24-3 down in the first half. A first half performance that made the Scarlets look like the Harlem Globetrotters, quite frankly. The thing is, Gav, what I would say about Boxing Day, as disappointing as it was, at least there were positives to take from
Yeah,
that
yeah,
game.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Against the Scarlets, let's call a spade a spade. It was pretty woeful, wasn't it?
Our defence was rubbish. It's the only way I can describe it. A couple of the tries were purely because first up tackles are missed, the line is broken, we haven't reorganised ourselves quickly enough, and the defence is all hear him, scare him, and then they're just playing, kind of just throwing the defender in and passing her out. It's the stuff you teach kids to do.
Yeah. And look, Scarlett scored some nice tries.
Yeah.
In fairness, they did. But let's be honest, when you come up against a defensive passive as that, it's very easy to look like Fiji, isn't
Mm,
it? You know, our one-up tackling was poor. I thought we were poor on both sides of the ball, actually.
yeah.
Very soft tries in that first half. You know, I'm not saying Scarlets weren't the better team and they deserved to win. They
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
did, but we just win at the races. Yet again, it was another flat, uninspiring, embarrassing first half performance. 24-3 down. What's all that about?
It was very poor rugby. Like, and I'd watched the Cardiff Swansea game, and both sides they were poor. Leslie played fine, but
Hmm.
we were dreadful.
Old school there, Gav. Cardiff Swansea. Ospreys, I think you mean.
Yes,
You got an
yeah,
old school. No, that's fine.
yeah.
Um, so
Sorry,
what did
Blues Swansea.
so what did TAT have to say after the game? He said this. Clearly, we weren't at the races. We were flat. We had no energy on both sides of the ball, and we conceded soft tries. Yep, we did. We've spoken about the new year, and we have to make a choice. Some habits are hard to break. I'm really proud of the effort in the second half, but I wouldn't say I was very proud of the first half. I gotta be honest, Gav, I wasn't proud of the second half. The only
Sc-
reason we came back into the game was because Scards took their foot off the gas.
They didn't even. It wasn't even they took their foot off the gas. They weren't even in the car anymore. They parked up and gone home.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and take positive and say, oh yeah, it was a fight back of sorts. But like I said, Scarlets are just they got their bonus point.
They didn't care.
They didn't care at that point, did they? And they let us back into it. That's the hard truth, isn't it? That's the reality of it.
But we never looked like getting all the way back into it.
No. But we had opportunities in that second half. Rio, who we love on this pod, made a wonderful line break, but he didn't pass the ball. It was a
No.
2-on-1 overlap and it was completely missed. And I was screaming, pass it, pass it, pass it. And he didn't pass it. And then we got knocked into touch. If he had passed that and they'd scored, that would have been a terrific
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
It was a superb break he made, but he just didn't pass it. And it's those moments, Gav, isn't it? Those are the key moments that we need to start being better at.
Yeah. It's they're the ones when you win games or lose games, isn't it? And the problem is at the minute we're losing games because we aren't making the right decisions at the right time.
No. Um, can we please stop playing Jared Ross at 13? It doesn't work. He is not a 13. As much as we love Jared on this pod, we're both big fans of him, Gav.
Yeah.
Stop playing it. Di was doing it when he was in charge. Tia did it. Why are we playing Jared Ross at 13 when we've brought over an Australian overseas player, Harry Wilson, who we still don't really know if he's up to it yet because he can't get a run of games.
No.
He had a wretched time, didn't he, Jared Ross at 13? He really
Uh,
did.
and we are both big Jared fans.
Huge. Love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've both said that he's amongst our favourite players. But defensively, he was all at sea. He
Yeah.
didn't know what to do.
No,
And 13 defensively is really, really difficult. And
it is.
I don't understand why it's like, oh, we can play this guy there. No, because he doesn't understand how to do it.
Yeah, I think 13 now has become a problem position for the Dragons because Joe Westwood has potential, and we like him a lot on this pod.
Yeah.
But defensively, he's got a lot of work on. I
Mm,
thought he was all over the place against Cardiff. He missed a lot of tackles from what I saw in my seat. Um, we don't know anything about Harry Wilson yet. I would say so far he's been underwhelming. He's shown
yeah.
flashes. He have shown flashes of quality, but he can't get run of games.
He looks better going forward than he does defensively, is what I would say so far. But I'm basing that on the snatches we've seen of him.
Exactly. But for me, I think he needs to run of games.
Oh yeah,
You know, um, Child Ross for 13 is not a suitable option for the reasons
no,
we've mentioned. But yet we have Scott Williams training with us. And I've said, I think for a short term option, I stress short term, for his experience, Gav, isn't he worth a crack at 13? Isn't it worth just
it,
signing him?
it makes no sense to me. You've got international rugby player who can play at 13 when we're struggling to have anyone at 13.
Yeah.
Not quite sure why we wouldn't.
But I would rather be given, I like us to sign Scott Williams, of course, don't get me wrong, just for a bit of experience, really. But I think we need to start giving Harry Wilson a proper run
Yeah,
in the 13, because how do we know if he's any good, really, if we don't give him an opportunity? If you go all out to bring a guy from the other side of the world, we need to know if he can cut it or not.
yeah.
We seem to be chopping and changing all the
And then
time,
at
and
the
it's
end
not
of the
working.
season, we can just let him go, can't we? If he's not good enough.
Well, it depends if he's on a 1 or 2 year deal, to be honest. I think it's a 2 year deal, isn't it? But
Mm.
he needs time to settle, and you should be given a run in the 13 jersey. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see who the 13 is going forward. But I mean, it looks like Westwood's jersey.
Yes.
But as much as we like Westwood, lots of potential. There are some defensive frailties he's got to work on. It is a hard position though, isn't it, for a young kid as well to learn in.
Oh, I think defensively, it's the hardest position on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Harry Ackerman scored a hat trick for Newport today.
They did. They lost, though, didn't they?
They did, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's pleasing. Just speaking of centres,
Yeah.
you know, he's big fan of Harry Ackerman. Be great to
Mm.
get him back in the Dragon setup. So yeah, Scarlet's really, really disappointed. Any other thoughts, Gav, on that game or anything in general?
Well, I think I don't understand why we're so inconsistent. I really don't understand that. That's my issue. So against Cardiff, for 60 minutes, we looked solid and like a decent side.
Mm,
But against Scarlets, we looked poor the entire game.
yeah.
I don't understand why we're so inconsistent.
And we
And
we went into these festive derbies off the back of a very good win up in
mm,
Newcastle, a game where everything just clicked, everything went right for us because even we were shocked by how good we were.
yeah,
Even the scrum went well. Um, and that should have been a springboard into these derbies, but yet again, it's just been another miserable festive period for the Dragons, isn't it?
I don't understand the selections as well. Jared at
Mhm.
13 is one of those, but
Just stop playing him there. We've played him there before. He never looks comfortable. It's not his position. Stop doing it. Don't sign a guy from the other side of the world and then don't play him. How do we know if he's any good or not? He may come good. Give him a bloody chance. Anyway, that's the Scarlets. Something I want to touch on as well. Since that Scarlets game, there is a lot of anger in the Dragons fan base right now. Right? I'm seeing a lot of supporters, Gav, on social media. I'm sure you have as well, saying they're not going to renew their season tickets.
hmm
They've had enough. It's the same old every season. We're not getting any better. They're angry about the results. They're angry at some of the decisions that's been made by the club in terms of the recruitment and the sacking of Dye after just 6 games. David Buttress came out fighting on social media. He did respond to a few disgruntled supporters, which he doesn't have to do, but he's always
No,
been open and transparent on
yeah,
social media, David Buttress, and that's why we like him. He tried to reassure supporters who have been concerned that we're going to get cut because of our continued failure. Even though the WRU have committed to 4 teams, there's still this debate going around, isn't it, about cutting the team. But he came out on Twitter, or X as it is now, and he said, "We have owners who are totally committed to turning the club into a winning one. Recruitment will be critical this summer. We have the talent, but we need to support it better." Um, and then to somebody else, he replied, it was somebody complaining, saying, "Oh, I feel we're going to get cut if we carry on playing like this," which I understand those concerns.
yeah,
Right? Basically, Buttress replied to him saying, "If we do go down to 3 teams, it won't be us. We have long-term committed owners. Rugby in Wales needs us to improve and not give up." So that's quite a defiant message there.
yeah,
He's trying to, it's damage limitation. He's firefighting. He's trying to reassure supporters, we're working hard. We're not going anywhere. So he puts that comment out there and I read it and I'm thinking, wait for it now. I knew he was going to get a reaction. Did you see the replies he got when he put that
yes,
tweet out from people? He got a load of abuse. It was a lot of people just saying, no, you should be closed down. You're rubbish. Your drags have been rubbish for years, failing close. He got a torrent of abuse. And fair play to David. He did take some of them on. He did reply.
yeah.
But I understand the frustration. I
I'd
really
have
do.
blocked a lot more of them than he did personally, but
Yeah. But you saw the reaction and the abuse he got, really, didn't you, for putting himself out there like that. There's a lot of supporters out there, Gav, who are really fed up, and there's a lot of supporters of other teams who really do want us closed down. And look, I understand the frustration from supporters, right? I, doing the group chats that we have, I'm really fed up with this team at the moment. This team is severely testing my patience and loyalty because every season it promises improvement and it's just not materializing.
I was genuinely concerned for you the other day. You just seemed so irritated with it all.
They are annoying me. They really are annoying me, this team. And I put on, I don't normally put myself out there on X after a defeat. You get guys just ranting and
Yeah.
raving up when their team loses. That's not me. But I did put out there after the game how unhappy I was. I talked about deep-rooted systemic and cultural issues at the Dragons. I stand by that.
Oh
I
no, I
think I,
totally agree.
I think we have got deep-rooted systemic and cultural issues. I think that can be overturned, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of effort. It's going to require something drastic because it can't go on like this, Gav, can it? Something has to change. We can't keep going through this season after season after season. Something needs to happen to break this never-ending cycle of failure that exists at this rugby club
Mm.
because everyone wants us closed down. But do you know what the saddest thing for me is? The saddest thing for me, and I've seen it a lot over social media after the Scarts game in particular, there's a growing amount now of Dragon supporters who are saying, close us down. We should be closed down. And I think that is really sad, isn't it? That isn't that sad for supporters of your own team to be saying, yeah, close us down. What's the point?
Because they can't see how it improves. And I get that, because I'm not entirely sure how it improves, if I'm honest.
Yeah. But what I would say to supporters saying just close us down, like I said, I understand the frustration. I'm really fed up at the moment, as you know, Gav, with this team. But be very careful what you wish for, right? Because once it's gone, and this team ain't coming back. So as much as I understand the frustration, I'm just as annoyed and as disheartened as anyone, as you've seen from my messages, Gav. I'm at my wit's end with this club.
You are?
I really am. But I'm not going to be going out there saying close us down because that's just madness.
And, and I think there's no simple solution. And the whole debate at the minute seems to be just full of really simple solutions. They aren't solutions. Oh, we just need to go back to clubs. Okay, we haven't got enough players to maintain 4 professional teams in Wales. But let's go back to having 12. That's not going to work, is it?
We've
We
already
just,
got clubs. They're in the
yeah,
SRC. They're in the Premiership.
yeah,
Your clubs exist. I don't understand when people say this. Oh, let's go back to clubs. Let's go back to Newport, Swansea, Cleffy don't exist anymore, but you know what I mean. Neath.
yeah,
Well, they're still there. You can go
yeah.
and see them. I went to see Newport FC the other day against Cardiff. It was a great game. I went over Spitty. I really enjoyed it. It's a good standard of rugby. You could go and see a local club. So I don't understand this argument of going back to clubs.
No. And the other, oh, we just need to go in the Premiership.
Oh, the English
What,
Prem. Yeah,
yeah,
that's not happening. Yeah,
what have we got for them? Nothing.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
They don't want us.
but Bristol will play derbies against Festive. I don't think Bristol care less.
No, they don't want us. They've made that perfectly clear. But yeah, I just think it's a really sad state of affairs when you see supporters now actively saying close us down, what's the point
Mm.
anymore? And I think the Dragons hierarchy really need to understand just how pissed off the supporters are. And you are right, Gav. I don't think they do get it. They might say they do, but I really don't think they do.
I don't think they understand how deep rooted it is now.
Mm. Do you think the owners have underestimated the scale of the challenge at the Dragons? Because David Wright is new to this whole young thing. David Buttress isn't. But do you think they've bitten off more than they could chew? Because I did see a comment from Buttress saying he said something along the lines of, "I didn't realize how difficult this was going to be," something along those lines. And it does
Mm.
make me think: have you underestimated then the scale of the challenge that you've brought yourself into?
Yeah, and I think there's been just poor choices, recruitment, everything else, and now we're in a massive hole and we don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah, it is massive, isn't it? Chris Kerwin wrote a really, really good article on the weekend. Did you see it? Did you
I
read it?
did, yeah, yeah.
I thought it was absolutely terrific. David Buttress wasn't keen on it, but he
No,
told a lot of home truths. He wrote a stat So he said that Mike Ruddock's men, I think it was their first season, wasn't it, in 2003,
Yeah.
2004. So they won 16 out of 22 league games, right? And we came quite close to winning the Celtic League that year. People forget that. People forget Dragons are really close to winning the first, Celtic League title. In the last 5 campaigns, the Dragons have won just 17 games out of 84, Gav. And that includes the Pro 14, the Rainbow Cup, and now the URC. So in 5 years, we've won 17 games. I mean, I'm
I
sorry, that is a damning indictment of this organization, isn't it?
I
That there's no
I
getting away
dis
from that.
I discussed that stat with Sam Lana, and he was
Yeah,
like, he said that's genuinely shocking. He said to me, he said, I knew they were poor, but that's genuinely shocking.
it is. It really is, isn't it? It's sad and it's shocking. 5 years, 17 wins. It can't go on like this. Something's got to happen. I don't know what. I don't know what. But let's go into the mailbox because we asked our listeners for their thoughts and comments and questions. Quite a few responses, Gab. Now, some of these questions we want to make clear we can't really answer them because we're not in a position to. Some of these questions need to be asked at the upcoming Q&A. People asking us about carriage patch and injury updates. We don't have that knowledge or access. But a lot of these, we'll just try our best to answer what we can. So and just give our thoughts really.
Mm,
So let's start with Greg then. He asks, I think we all know the answer to this one. He said, "Is it time to be ruthless with regards to the players that we actually keep and release?" Outstandingly, yes. Obviously,
yeah,
yes.
there's
There
a
is.
number of
We have to be. You told me before we came on here, Gav, didn't you? And you looked at the squad, didn't you? Well,
yeah.
tell the listeners what you were telling me before we came on.
So yeah, kind of. I was thinking about the quality of the squad, and kind of couldn't sleep one night looking at the squad. If I randomly make a list of players who I think are good enough for the URC, a list of players I don't think are good enough, and it was more or less 50-50. I know
Mm,
this is my opinion. This is a scientific fact, but yeah, I do vaguely understand rugby as a sport. I do understand what I'm looking at, and I think if I'm thinking 50% of the team isn't good enough, that's probably a worry, isn't it?
yeah, I think we've got a lot of players, and we've discussed this on the pod before, Gav. I think we got a lot of players who would be really good in Super Rugby Cymru.
Yeah.
A lot of players who would do a job at clubs like Newport, Ebervale, Pontypool. They could offer a bit of leadership, a bit of support to the younger guys coming through. There's some guys who would be really good in the WRU Premiership, the tier below that. And there'd even be some players in our squad who I think would do a really good job in the English Championship. They could go to clubs like Ampthill and Bedford and they'd be perfectly fine. But I think when we look at the squad, and we all know as Dragon supporters, don't we? We look at the squad, we know who's up to it and who's
Mm,
not up to it. And I think you could cross a line through so many names of the players who just aren't up to it at this level. And it's not their fault. I'm not going to go
no,
at them. These guys don't go on the field to be bad. No one does. But I think there's an overwhelming feeling now amongst a lot of people, not just at the Dragons, but elsewhere. Our squad just isn't good enough at this level.
no. Uh, it really isn't, and that's not anyone's fault or none of the players' fault. It's
Oh,
management's fault. But if that's what we've got, then it's a problem, isn't it?
mm. Did you see Jonathan Davis, Jiffy?
I did, yeah.
He came out and said too many players in the Dragon squad not good enough to be pro level. Well, majority, he said. I don't know if that's a little harsh though, to say majority. I think a lot of them are, but majority, I'm not too sure about. Because you look at our international contingent. I think that's pretty good. We got some good proper youngsters coming through as well, as we know. Ray Woodman, Harry Ackerman, Joe Westwood, Ewan Ross. So these are good guys. Nick Thomas as well. But for me, it's that marzipan layer of the squad. I
Yes.
think that's where, we were really lacking good
Uh,
quality pros.
it. I think we've got a perfectly decent first 20,
Mm,
but then if any of those are missing,
yeah.
we are getting into not good enough.
And we've got far too many injury prone players on the books as well. And we're going to have to make a decision. And, these are some of them are big names. I'm not going to name them, but, certain Welsh tight end, certain winger. There are guys there who have been good players for us, but they just never fit for us. And the decision
Ah,
needs to be made, I think.
when was the last time Ashton played a game?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I couldn't tell you. Sometime last season, maybe.
I don't
Uh,
think he played last season.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. Um, I'd have to look it up. If I
I'd go
know you was
with
going to
you.
ask that question, I would have looked it up for
Oh
you.
no, no, it just popped into my head. Like, and
Yeah.
a good player and a force for good for in the game, Ashton. But he's not playing rugby, which is what he's paid to do.
Mm, yeah. Bethan gets in touch. She asks, what can we do to start winning and being competitive? It's so depressing being a fan for all these years to have seen us go backwards. For me, Gav, I think it's investment. I think because we keep getting told, right? Reese Blumberg has been very vocal and say we have wealthy owners. No, these are rich guys. They want to invest. Great. So let's see it then. Put your money where your mouth is. Go out there and start in properly investing in the squad. And I know it's going to be difficult because of the perception of the Dragons. We're not going to get the high quality players that we want. We have to be smart. Go out there then, spend some money, get your checkbook out, and properly invest in this squad. Because that's what I feel it needs. I feel this team needs real deep investment.
Hugely, and it needs a coach. It needs somebody to lead it who's going to drive it from the front. And that needs to be the first appointment for me. And it could be Philo, but I'm not getting the vibe that Philo actually cares enough. I'm sure he does, but he's not coming across as Mr.
He doesn't give those vibes, does
No,
he? Maybe that's just his natural demeanor, mind. I don't
no.
know, but he's coming across real
It wasn't his natural demeanor as a player, Jesus.
reluctant head coach vibes,
Yeah,
isn't there? Yeah.
yeah, but if you get a good coach and you throw money at him, and then you go to players saying, "Yeah, we have been crap,
Yeah.
but we've invested in this coach, and we want you, and this is a project, and this is going to be, this is going to be something exciting, and we want you to be in it. Also, here's a big wedge of money as well."
Yeah. So what can we do to start with it being competitive? My answer would be the owners really need to put their hands in their pockets, properly invest in the playing squad, and properly invest in the coaching. That's what they need to do. Will
Yeah,
they do it? We'll see. But
because it's
that's what
not a
I think we need to do.
strategic thing. If we started playing 10-man rugby, we wouldn't start winning games
Yeah,
because we haven't got
exactly.
players good enough to do that.
Hmm. Matthew gets in touch. He says, another crap season. Where do we go from here? Any ideas, Gav? I mean, he's right. It's another crap season, but where do we go from here?
Well, I do know. I was having this conversation a while back with former guest Rhiannon Garth Jones, and she was saying to me, it's almost a shame the URC doesn't have relegation because sometimes when you had a couple of years of just getting your arse handed to you, it's nice to drop a level and win games regularly, and you can rebuild this. She's a Burnley fan in football, so
Mm.
she's talking from a point of experience there. And it's almost like, yeah, we could almost do with that, isn't it?
Do you know, that's very interesting what you just said because my brother said exactly the same thing to me on Boxing Day. He said the problem is Dragons, they almost need to get relegated so they can play teams they have a better chance of winning against and build some confidence, but they're always going to be stuck in a league where they can't win. That's what he said to me. He's right.
Mm,
He's right.
yeah, and going back to your thing, this is where the investment comes in because sport isn't a level playing field, and we can all pretend it is.
Mm.
But let's have a look at the teams who are at the top, and let's have a look at what their playing budgets will look like, and then let's have a look at the teams at the bottom.
Yeah.
So, Cardiff for an outlier, Leinster atop, £15 million playing budget.
Mm. Yeah. But then you look at Cardiff and Scarlets, I think they're both in the top eight now, aren't they? They're on a low budget. Well, they're the same as us now. So we got to stop the funding excuses. I'm still seeing it from
Yeah.
Dragon supporters. We are all on the same budget. No excuses. Cut the funding nonsense now. It's not all about that. They recruited better or we didn't. That's why they're in the top eight and we are not. Because we recruited poorly,
Mm.
didn't we? We
And we
did
did.
not sign smart players. Look at the Scarlets, right? Who the hell was Blair Murray? Nobody knew who he was. Now he's playing for Wales. Yeah? Nobody knew who Max Douglas was. Look how good he has been. They were smart in their recruitment. We wasn't. And that's
Yeah,
a real
and
shame.
well, some of it, Shane Lewis Hughes was a good signing.
Yeah, Shane Lewis-Hughes has been by far best signing. I mean, even with 9 fingers, he's still class, isn't he? So
Yeah, 9.5.
9.5, yeah. But the rest of them, let's be honest, they've either been injury prone or underwhelming. We haven't seen Funaki yet. We don't know
No,
if he's any good. We don't know if he's any good. He's had a serious knee op, and that's been infected as well. So he might not be the same player again. We don't know.
no.
We'll have to keep an eye on him and just see how it goes. When's he going to return? I mean, he is in training, by the way, which is good news. He was warming up with the Dragons on Boxing Day and on New Year's
Yeah, you
Day.
said he
So
was heavily strapped up, though.
his knee was heavily strapped, yeah. So it's going to go two ways. He would be really good, or he's just going to be another flop. I don't know, but yeah, thanks for that question, Matthew. On to Nathan now. We said this is something we've just spoken about, actually. Looking through the squad list, I honestly think you'll need a cull of Bernard Jackman proportions, probably between 17 and 20 players. It's quite a lot. We need a new head coach. Our priority recruitment should be front row and second row, specifically leaders. We need to try and get Jared Evans. We're not going to get Jared Evans, Nathan. We need to try and get. We're just not. We need to try and get Jared Evans, but I think we'll end up settling for De Beer, and that's just a start. So this is interesting, right? Tinas De Beer's name is cropping up a lot because we've been linked to him in Wales Online. I've seen Dragon supporters talking about him. There's one Cardiff support, I won't name him, there's a fanatical Cardiff supporter on social media. And he is absolutely fuming at the fact that he could be moving to the Dragons. We can't let him go. He was excellent for us at his first season. He's too good for the Dragons and all this. And I'm thinking, he had a good season, Tinas De Beer. He was an unexpected success, but he's Tinas De Beer. He's not Handré Pollard, mate.
No.
So calm yourself down. He's probably the best fly half we could attract at the moment because we certainly ain't getting Jared Evans.
Unless, like you say, the board go, right, we've got money for a couple of years. Let's just put some money into it and see what happens.
Mm.
And then, like, if it fails, and I'm not saying put tens of millions in, but
they're not going to do that. No, it's not football, is it?
But let's take the playing budget up to about 7 million and see what we could do with that with a smart coach.
Well, the playing budget is going to go up. It's not going to go up that high, I don't
No,
think.
it's only going up to 5, isn't it?
But there is that two marquee players, isn't there, sitting outside the salary cap, which no club has done yet. But don't forget, it's not as simple because first of all, are our owners actually going to do that? I'm not convinced they will actually.
No.
Secondly, that's got to be approved by all the other regions. So it goes to a PRB. If you sign two marquee players, or if you want to sign, if they don't agree to it, it don't happen. So it's got to be universally agreed.
Isn't Barrett at Leinster, isn't he a marquee player?
He's just a standard player for Leicester, isn't he? That's just their standard signing. I don't know how it works over there with marquee players, but yeah, that's basically how it works. So we could sign marquee players outside the salary cap. Would Jared Evans be a marquee signing, do you think? Not so sure, but
am I missing something with Jared Evans?
He was very good against Newcastle the other night. Do you see that pass?
Yeah, but it's a set move.
He's a good player. I don't like Gatland don't rate him, does
he is a good player. He's a perfectly good player. 6.5 out of 10, pushing the 7.5 on a good day. The way people are talking about him as if he's Barry John or something,
I've seen a lot
that pass was amazing.
Yeah,
it's fine. He's a professional rugby player.
I saw a lot of rugby experts and journalists saying he's the best in Europe and taking the ball to the line. I'm thinking, well, why isn't he in the Wales squad then? Or why doesn't Gatland pick him?
I always found him a bit erratic when he was at Cardiff. He would do great stuff and then he would do something absolutely insane.
I do like Jared Evans. I do, but I don't see him coming to the Dragons.
No, he was a good player. I saw like someone saying, "Oh yeah, he should be Wales' starting 10, and Sam Davis should be off the bench, and they can mix and match like Bigger and Anscombe." First of all,
no.
Yeah, you're not comparing like for like there.
No.
So, secondly, neither of them can be in the Welsh team because neither of them have got enough caps.
No, I think Jared is eligible. They
Is
clarified
he?
that, didn't they, WRU? They put out this
All right.
thing clarifying that because first of all, Jared Evans came out and said he didn't know if he was or not, didn't he? It was a bit of a shambles. And then somebody at WRU said, "Well, yeah, he is."
What the WRU doing something half-assed?
Oh, no, it's shocking, isn't it? But if you're clarifying whether a player's available, but you're not picking him, then what's the point? But we probably will end up with someone like Tina Stabia, and I think that's just where we are. That wouldn't be a bad signing. He's not a player that's going to elevate the Dragons team. He's not a marquee
He's
signing
an
by any
upgrade on
means.
what we've got.
Well, is he better than Angus O'Brien? No. Is he better than Lloyd Evans? Probably. I think he would make more of an impact
Yeah,
than Lloyd Evans. Is he better than Will Reed? At this moment in time, he probably is. Will's got a lot of learning to do. He'd be a decent option, I think.
yeah,
I'm
he's
not gonna
fine.
I'm not gonna cock my nose up if we sign Tina Stabia, and it will annoy some Cardiff fans as well. So we need to do it.
It'd be better if we signed him and then didn't play him.
He's really good over the ball, Tina Stabia.
No, he
He's
is
really good
good.
at the
Yeah,
breakdown. Andrew Ford put, the YouTube, he put a compilation video of Tina Stabia. He's really, really strong at the breakdown. So
he's not a bad player at all. Like, but this is the thing, though, right? This is our level of ambition. You and I are saying, "Oh, yeah, I think this De Beer would be all right." Go back to what you said. Put your hands in your pocket. No, not Tina's De Beer. Get us a good 10.
yeah, but that's where we are, Gav. I'm just being realistic.
Oh no,
That
but
is where we are. Yeah,
in terms of
no,
where we
you're
are
right.
right now,
Yeah,
that's as good as we can get. But if that's as good as we can get, then we're going nowhere.
yeah, yeah,
The only way you become better is by raising your level of ambition.
yeah. It's true. It's very true. What do you think about the point of culling 17 to 20 players? Is that too much, or do you think that's about right because you've looked at the squad?
Well, you'd have to bring in another 20 players then. So,
Mm.
that's fine. All the 20, I would say that's too many.
I like to look at Nathan's reason as well, the players who he doesn't rate, because we probably disagree. There might be a couple
Yeah,
of players on there, like for example, like George Knott. I
yeah.
really like George Knott. Now I know some Dragon fans don't rate him. I think he's a good, hard working pro.
He's a capable player. He's never going to set fire to anything, but he
No.
does what he paid to do. So I'm fine with George now. There's probably 8 players that shouldn't be playing regular URC rugby.
Yeah.
The,
Fair enough.
8 to 10.
Mm. He also adds, look at the Scarlets pack, pretty much all non-wash qualified. We want Gwent boys representing Dragons, but if they ain't good enough, you have to plug the gap, allowing ones in different positions that are good enough to develop. I'm all for foreign players in the game, right? Especially good quality ones. But Scarlets had 8 non-wash qualified players in their match day squad. How was that benefiting Welsh rugby having
It's
that
not.
many? It might be fine for the Scarlets, but I don't think they're doing Welsh rugby any favours by having so many in this squad. I
The,
don't think that's right.
I thought there was a rule as well about the number you were allowed to have.
There is, but I'm not sure. I can't remember how many it is. I think that's a lot, though. Do you?
I thought it was 5. I thought you were allowed 5 non-Welsh qualified players or
Someone will have to
players
get
on
in
a
touch with
pathway.
us. Yeah, I'm not sure. Someone will have to get in touch with us about that to clarify. But yeah, their pack is they can put out a non-wash qualified pack, the Scarlets, and like I said, for them, I think it's good. But for the wider good of Welsh rugby, no, I don't think that's good at all. To be
They
honest,
absolutely beasted us in the pack, though, didn't they?
they did. They absolutely did. Yeah.
Who's the big second row, the New Zealander? What was he back row? Sam Lousy.
Tongan, isn't he?
Tongan.
Yeah.
Sorry, the entire South Pacific for mixing up nationalities there. You know,
He was
good.
very good.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, we made him look good.
He he very nearly signed for the Dragons. Sam Lousy. Fact, they feel. Didn't get him though in the end. Scarlets gazumped us with a higher offer to stay. They probably overpaid for him to be honest, but
Yeah,
yeah, could have been a Dragon, Sam
yeah.
Lousy.
He's never a player I've been like blown away with. I thought he just played well against us in that game.
Yeah. Okay, Richard gets in touch and says we were never going to be competing for the playoffs, but to be at the bottom of the league is hugely disappointing. We needed to be lucky with injuries to maybe push towards getting above 12. That's optimistic, Richard. But once again, we have suffered badly with injuries. That's true. I'm struggling to see us not finishing last in the table. Yeah, there's a good chance we could finish last. Zebra have improved. They were very. Did you see? I don't know if you saw any of their games against Benetton, the 2 derby games.
No,
They were very unlucky on both occasions. Very unlucky not to turn Benetton over. So I feel Bennett Seaburg got a couple more wins in them this season. I'm not sure that's the case with us. That's the
No.
difference there. That's the difference. But yeah, we are looking likely to finish bottom, and that'll be the first time in the Dragons' history that we've ever finished bottom in the league. As poor as we've never finished bottom, but I think there is a very good chance this season that could be the case. So yeah, Graham says there are mixed messages coming from the board currently. They're talking about silverware and money being available, but then they appear to be scrimping on appointments. For example, we are now down to one coach again, covering both head coach and defence coach. I'd have preferred to keep Di Flanagan if this was the plan going forward. And then he says, the attack coach is a young guy who is a Newport RFC player. No offence to him intended. I'm sure Matt won't take offence to that. If there is no money, just be honest with the supporters. But if there is money, why are they cutting corners at
Yeah.
every opportunity? It's all very well trying to be sustainable, but you are not going to attract new sponsors or gate receipts if you are losing every week. That's a fair point from Graham Gav, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. That's
Yeah,
absolutely 100% fair.
yeah, absolutely. Owain gets in touch now. Owain sent, he's Gav's brother, right? He
Yes.
sent, who we've had on the pod, he sent us a very long list of things that's annoyed him. And I'm not going to read it all out, Owain. I'm just not, we haven't got time, mate. I know you're deeply unhappy. We all are, but I'm not reading out your entire post, okay? So things that annoyed him are Dragons charging 30 quid for entry of Ronnie's bar. That did cause a stink with a lot of supporters. I don't go to Ronnie's bar anymore. The worst pint of beer I've ever had over Ronnie Parade was in Ronnie's bar, so I'm not going to pay for that. He's annoyed with the recruitment, like a lot of people are. He's annoyed with the
Yeah.
owners for not acting on the issues at the club. And then he says this, I'll read this last bit out for you. He said, I'll always be a dragon, but I'm fed up. I've never been so demoralised. First time I've actually said to just disband us. I'll go and watch Newport, Pontypool, Ebervale instead and just enjoy the sport again. I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. What do you say to supporters who are now saying, yeah, just disband us, just get rid of us, just cut us? I don't know what to say to that, Gav. I don't know.
The thing is, what can you say to that? Is, well, that's your opinion. Um, I don't think it's a great idea because, you want to watch better rugby. No criticism of Ed Vale and that, but you want to watch elite rugby if you're a fan of elite rugby, aren't you?
Mm. But that's the strength of feeling. The
Which I
fan base now is
understand.
feeling so fed up and low that this is what I told about earlier. There are people now actually saying, what's the point, disband us? And I think that's really sad. And the owners really need to wake up to that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there's always a crackpot, but Owen's not a crackpot.
No, he's not.
No, he's a regular fan. He's sensible. So if he's feeling like that, and you've toned it down today, but you've not said disband us, but you've been absolutely raging with it.
I have. Yeah.
I think uh, they do need to start listening to the owners because these are, you are loyal fans of the club.
Yeah. And look, there's a Q&A coming up, right? And that's an opportunity for supporters to, make their views heard and get answers from the board. Only thing I would say, right? I've been to a lot of Q&As at the Dragons, Gav, right? And I passed the stage now. I think I'm at the stage where I don't want to hear words anymore.
No,
I want to see action.
action, of
I
course.
don't want jam tomorrow. I've
No.
had enough of that. I want to see us win games on the field. You can tell me all you want about how you're going to be better, how you're going to raise more money, you're going to sign quality players, but I've got to start seeing it because action always speaks louder than the words. You can have all the Q&As you want. You can have David Buttress on Twitter every day, firefighting, reassuring supporters. That's not enough for me anymore. I need to see action. That's where I am with it. I've just had enough of the jam tomorrow, you know? That's where I am, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's realistic. It's realistic because we can't just be. Nobody is kept alive on promises, are they? Like you say, you need
Yeah,
to have something tangible, and we haven't had anything tangible in ages.
no. And if we were just going through a couple of poor seasons, I probably wouldn't feel like this because, every club has a lull. But can we be honest about this, Gav? We have been bad for a decade now. The only time we showed real improvement, the only time I felt like Dragons were making strides was in Dean Ryan's first season. That
Yeah,
was the one time where I really felt like we were making strides because we wasn't the worst team in Wales that year. We qualified for the Champions Cup. We actually had a good season that year in Dean Ryan's first year. People forget that.
yeah.
But for the past decade, it's just been misery, and people have had enough. I've had enough. I'm at my wits' end of it. I've got to
Uh,
start seeing action now. I've had enough of, like I said, the jam tomorrow stuff. I'm not interested in anymore.
yeah, I'm hoping. I know the owners do listen to us, so I'm hoping they hear this. And kind of, we aren't extremists. We aren't unrealistic. But if we're saying this, listen and understand this is where the feeling is.
The worst thing in the world is apathy. That's worse than anger, that is, because once you got apathy, that's it. That's even worse than when you don't care,
Oh
and
yeah, well,
that's when the club will die. If the supporters are feeling apathy and they walk away, that'll be it.
yeah, that's the thing, and is that well, I- I'm kind of, as you know, I'm involved in a grassroots game, and it's apathy that's killing the grassroots game because people are like, I've got better things to be doing with my time.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we just desperate for the Dragons to do well? But we are supporters. We care about the club a lot, and yeah, we are critical, and we are not afraid on this podcast. Other supporters podcasts, they won't talk about the issues, they won't criticize the club. They'll steer away from that and just talk about on-field stuff and how good their team is. But we will hold the club to account, and I think that's the right thing to do because we care. We want them to do well. We're fair in our criticism, but we will always call a spade, and that's why I
Yeah,
like about this pod. I'm not afraid, as long as we do it in a constructive way, which I think we have done. Then I think that's perfectly fine. But
well,
you've listened to the supporters comment. It's not just us, Gav. You read
no, no,
social media, listen to what Dragons fans. They're at their wits' end.
no. We're just voicing what other people are saying as well, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. Last one. Then Richard asks, when is Ashton Hewitt back? So, as far as I'm aware, Ashton Hewitt is back in training. His partner did have a baby over the festive period. So, congratulations to Ashton, his partner. That's lovely news. Solomon Fanaki as well is also back in training. So, whether they'll be involved against Poe, maybe. I don't know. Although it's worth saying, and I'll refer you to what Philo Tia said around the players earning the right to play through the SRC after long-term injuries. So don't be surprised if they play a couple of SRC games first. That's what's happened with Ackerman, Kai Evans, Jordan Williams, George Young. They haven't come straight back into the Dragons team. They've been playing for Newport and Ebro and stuff. So we may see Ashton play a game or two for Newport. Funaki might.
I want to see Solomon Funaki turn up at Ebervale and go, what the hell is this?
Yes, that would be good, wouldn't it? That would be really good. Okay, that's the mailbox then. Thank you for everyone who's sent in their comments and questions. It is appreciated, and I think you can all understand the strength of feeling there, can't you? So
100%.
yeah, like I said, it's not just us. This is just how the fan base are feeling. Right. So next up for the Dragons is the Challenge Cup, and we are hosting French Club Po on Sunday, 3:15. Now, look, Gav, it's been another rubbish season, as we all know, right? Not going to dwell on that anymore. But the Challenge Cup, it can provide some cheer for long-suffering supporters, providing we do a job against Poe and the Lions. There's an opportunity here to make the knockout stages at least, and that for me would salvage what's been another poor campaign. So there's all to play for, isn't it?
Hmm.
So how do you feel about this going into this game now? Do you feel like it's a must-win now, and do we go all out for it, or do you think
Well,
the Challenge Cup and
I think my view on the Challenge Cup and Philo's view on the Challenge Cup are quite different. I'm of the view, we're our best players out, let's win this because, we aren't doing a lot in the URC, so let's try to get into the things. But he seems to rotate the squad more.
he has rotated in the first two games, hasn't he? I
Yeah,
just wonder now, though, with morale being really low, if he thinks, okay, let's go for this now. They've got nothing. They might as well go for it. I think he'll have to make changes. I think against the Lions out in Johannesburg because
yeah.
that is ridiculous, by the way. we have to travel all the way out there just for one game of rugby. And I know it works both ways with the South Africans, but they shouldn't be in they shouldn't be in the European rugby competition, should they?
No.
URC, I understand it. It made sense, but we got to go all the way to Johannesburg just to play a game. It's crazy, and then we got to play Munster then the next week. The schedule's not been kind to us. I was
No.
really hoping we wouldn't draw the Lions or any South African team. And if we did, it'd have to be at home, but we got to go to Johannesburg. So, yeah, that's the fixture we could really do without. But, will Po come over your full strength? I doubt it.
No.
The top 14 survival is priority for them. So, there is an opportunity here, Gav, isn't there? And hopefully the injury list is easing a little bit as well. And we get George Knott back, and maybe Cummins will play against his former team. Who knows? So I am feeling semi-positive about this game. It is at home. For me, it depends if Po can be asked or not. I think if they're up for it, I think we could be in trouble. But otherwise, I think there's an opportunity. So I'm feeling so positive about it. What about you?
Yeah, I think I come to these Challenge Cup games with a degree of positivity. I always do.
Yeah.
And if they come with, they don't really care about it, we can win it. But we've got to care about it.
Yeah, you're
we
right.
have to start prioritizing. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does feel, I think, needs to go full strength for this one. So, yeah, that's on Sunday afternoon on the 12th, I believe. Shall we end on a couple of positives? Because, it has been quite full on, isn't it? And a little bit doom and gloom. We apologize for that, but like I said, it's just difficult at the moment to talk about anything else. And we're not going to avoid it. We will not avoid it on this pod. So, firstly, we ran a competition with the Dragons for one of our listeners to win 4 tickets to our Crunch European match against Po. The competition is now closed, and I'm pleased to announce that the winner is Louise Leach. So congratulations to you, Louise. The Dragons will be in touch with you to sort you out tickets. I hope you have a great day. I can't promise you a win, unfortunately. You may or may not see a win, but I'm sure you'll have a great day out. So, and I'd like to thank the Dragons as well for supplying us with those tickets. It was really good of them to do that. So, yes, thank you to the Dragons, and well done to you, Louise, for winning those tickets. Hope you have a great day. And the last thing now, before we end the spot, and this is a nice note to end on, I think. Opta Johnny, the stats guys.
Yes.
They put out a list of 5 players who made the most 50-22 kicks in all the major club competitions in 2024, right? So this covers URC, top 14, English Premiership, all the major competitions, right? So in the lead with 6 was Brice Dulin. Remember the former French
fullback?
Fullback, plays for La Rochelle now, I think it is. So he was top with 6. Also in this list then, you got Anton Dupont, Matthew Jalibert, Thomas Ramos, right? And wait for it, our very own Angus O'Brien.
Excellent.
Angus O'Brien is in the company of Dupont, Jalibert, and Ramos. They all made 4 50-22 kicks in all the major European club competitions. How good is that? How nice is that? That Angus O'Brien's in the company of Anton Dupont and Jalibert and Ramos. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, and that will cause South African fans to say, well, he's not as good as Cheslin Colby.
It's just really funny seeing
it's fantastic.
All these brilliant world-class
and he is
players.
A good kicker up the hand. He's not. Yes. He's less good off the tee, but
I just think it's quite funny. You see all these world-class players. You're like, Dupont, Jalibert, and then it's like Angus is there. This is brilliant. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I think that was a nice note to end it on. So well done, Angus. And he is very good at the 50-22, isn't he? He is one of the best in Europe at that, I think. Well, it's been proven. Yeah. Johnny said so. So there you go.
He's good as hashtag greatest of all time, Antoine Dupont.
Exactly. He's in great company. There's a lot of quality players in that list. He's in great company. There we are then. That's a nice note to end it on, isn't it? So, Gavin, thank you for joining me as always. And thanks to Riverside Sports Bar, the home of sports fans in Newport, for their continued support. We'll be back very soon. But until then, take care and Happy New Year to you all.
That was the Dragon's Lair in association with the Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.